This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. I want to talk about how these absolute psychopaths who are indeed communists, who are using communist ideologies to brainwash people by pretending to be kind, pretending to care about somebody's skin color, pretending to care about somebody's race, pretending to care about somebody's sexual preferences, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is all a ruse by these people. And we're hearing a constant theme, which people need to start seeing the repetition and pattern. That's what I've always tried to show you, that these things aren't just slips of the tongue where they say something once and they don't, continually say it. And it's like, I just said that, but that's not what I meant. They constantly are talking about how all of the children in this country belong to everyone. And this is a communist ideology that people don't understand. They hear that and they're like, what do you mean they belong to everyone? In communism, everything belongs to everyone. Everything. Your wife, your yard, your lawnmower, your toilet, your private parts, everything. And people might be like, well, that's a little bit extreme. No, that is the truth. Of course, the government's not going to come out and tell you that, but in a communist society, sharing's caring. So I'm going to show you a montage of these liberals talking about how your children belong to them, and it's everybody's children. This isn't just a slip of the tongue. This is an ideology. This is the key ideology in communism, because the government raises the children. And this is something we've seen implemented in America over the last couple of decades. This is the whole point of women's empowerment. This is the whole point of them getting women into the workplace. Some people think it was about taxing women and taxing men. Yeah, there's a small part of it, but money is never the key motivator with them. And I feel like the people who constantly promote like big pharma, it's about money, it's about money. It's not about money, they print it. That's not their goal at the end of the day. It's about control, okay? And they want control of the young minds, because the only way they could lead a communist party, an ultimate one world order, is by getting the minds of the children and brainwashing them. And before I show you these montages, which is going to scare you, these clips put together, please make sure, if you haven't yet, subscribe to my second channel, my backup channel. I need to build that channel out now, and I need everybody's help. Please do not wait any longer to subscribe if you haven't yet. It's really important that people subscribe to it, because I constantly another YouTuber's constantly having to move around here, and I need these channels built out. That way I don't have to sit and wait when between uploading content. I need to build them out as quickly as possible, so I need you to help. And if you like my content, I don't see what the harm is in subscribing to the other channel, okay? I'm not going to bombard your feed with stuff. I just have to build it out to 4,000 watch hours. So please click the link below and subscribe now if you haven't. I really would appreciate it. Okay, so again, remember, sharing is caring, love, equality. These are all terms that they're using to brainwash people. If they used old communist propaganda, it wouldn't work. Okay, communism is of the devil. That's what it is. And you might think that sounds extreme. It's not. They are grooming people with all the sick ideologies you see now that you go, wow, I can't believe they're talking about castrating kids, et cetera, et cetera. These are all communist. This is all part of the Communist Manifesto. There are no genders. Everything is one. They'll continue to depopulate because people won't be able to have kids. They're separating people and getting them to want to date technology and artificial, anime characters or whatever you call them, avatars, et cetera, et cetera. That's the road we're headed down. But first, they need to convince you that all children are everyone's children. They're community children. They belong to everyone. So if you live in a household and you won't want your kid to go to a library to get read to by a 40-year-old guy wearing a bra and a thong, well, you're a horrible person. In our community, that needs to be accepted and tolerated. These people are psychotic and they're sick. But let's start with the top of the pyramid here in America. Well, not really top of the pyramid. Let's start with the top actors in this country and some of the people who are just pushing this narrative. And we hear Joe Biden say it over and over again. And this is being done purposely. This mindset and these lines, this repetition you're seeing is done to beat it into people's head, because that's how they get people to accept this stuff. They just constantly say it over and over until it becomes truth, until it becomes a way of life. That's how they've created this mirage that we live in. They've convinced people that the world is, all these things have happened in the world, right? And we say, well, why do we look at all these things of this perception of the world and what it is? Well, because school. And why do we go to school and learn no trades and just learn this fake history for about 15 to 20 years? Because they beat it into your head long enough that you believe that it's reality. So this is the compilation of the Biden clips and the Democratic White House. Because again, the Democrats are the ones who are communists. Take a look.
Probably, but children are the kite strings. They're not somebody else's children. They're all our children. are the kite strings that lift our national ambitions aloft. And you hold those strings. You hold those strings. There's no such thing as someone else's child. No such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children. As I often say, you teachers hold the kite strings that lift our national ambitions aloft. You really do. Imagine, just imagine if we didn't have great teachers in this country. What difficulty we're in. You are determining our future. The faith leader reminded you that we're all born and created in God's image. The chosen family who filled the void when your biological family wasn't there. That's who I believe we are. And that is the soul of America. This is our real moral obligation. These are not somebody else's children. They're all our children.
You know, when we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
Well, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has come under fire recently for telling a gathering, namely the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, that children, these are kids, these are our kids, they belong to all of us. She's coming under fire as people are like, well, excuse me, no, they are not.
It's wrong that extreme officials are pushing hateful bills targeting transgender children, terrifying families, and criminalizing doctors. These are our kids. These are our neighbors. It's cruel and it's callous. Not somebody else's kids, they're all our kids. And you've heard me say it many times about our children, but it's true. They're all our children. They're not somebody else's children. They're like yours when they're in the classroom.
We have never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
So it's absolutely frightening. And for those of you that are like, I don't really understand, why are they doing this with children? The communists target the children, okay? Remember, in communism, God is government. Government comes above all. It's the do-all, end-all. It comes above your personal relationship with whoever you're dating, whoever you're married to. It comes before you and your children. The government comes first. The government wants to be responsible for raising the children. That's how it works. And here's just a clip I used a while ago, where you can even see how the children are brainwashed into leaving their families, the way that they perceive family life as a burden, as something they don't want. They want to be part of the government, and the government, again, is going to come to these kids and brainwash them and act like they care about them and everybody else is bad and they want to protect them and they want to give them equal rights and they want to treat them like adults, all things that shouldn't obviously be going on. I mean, they're convincing these kids who are 7 years old that they're smarter than their parents, that they're adult. And this is part of the brainwashing we've seen with all these shows with kids acting as adults. They're convincing them of this. Even though we all know, if we look back at ourselves in our teens, we all look back probably and cringe at the things that we said, the way we dressed, how we acted, right? We could all look back even at home videos and be like, oh man, that's embarrassing. What was I thinking? Because we're kids, right? Well, they want to empower these people because they're very easy to manipulate and mold. And that's what the Communist Party is about. This is a clip from old communist propaganda about how the communist regime wants to remove the children from the household and they brainwash them into turning on their families.
Sergeant, check the kitchen. You look in the back. I'll be upstairs.
Bam! What is this? Where do you think you're going?
We have no time for explanations. Already we are 15 minutes behind schedule.
I don't care who sent your why. You're not going to take another step until I see your warrant.
Warrant? We need no warrant. As a member of the Young Communist League, your daughter has volunteered for farm work. She's to be transported immediately. The truck is waiting outside.
You say my daughter volunteered?
That is correct. Here's the signature. Requesting transport to the People's Collective.
Signature on that piece of paper is false. And everything you've said is a lie because my daughter would never leave here of her own free will.
Sergeant!
You've got no right to be in this house. I'm going to give you just 10 seconds to get out of here.
Daddy? It's true, Daddy. I did volunteer for farm work.
Brenda, why?
The party convinced me that I should free myself of the lingering bourgeois influence of family life. I am ready. Do not interfere. It is for my own good.
And Comrade Donovan, do not think that your deviationist remarks shall be overlooked. They will be reported to the proper authorities.
Frightening, isn't it?
So it's really important for people out there to realize what they're doing, okay? All of this stuff is all put in this big basket mixed in with cookies and cupcakes where they tell you that they love you, they care about you, they want to nurture you, they want to protect you. And that's the deception that's going on right now. That's why we see people like myself lose free speech on the internet, and all of you as well, right? Well, they tell you the reason we're taking speech away from people like me and people like you is because they're hurting people's feelings. So they play to people as if they care about these people and they want them to follow them and trust them and they'll protect them. In reality, what they're doing is molding them, okay? They're tricking them, they're deceiving them, and they want their children, those people that they're molding, you know, their minds, and they're molding their thoughts and molding their ideologies. And this whole love movement is a deception. I've said it for years. I used to get so much slack from Christians. They make God's love, God's mercy. What are you talking about, the Antichrist in love? Well, now do you see it? You see all these celebrities holding up the heart? See all these celebrities talking about, well, if you don't accept, you know, a guy in the library wearing a wig and lipstick hanging around your kids, you're a horrible, hateful person. I mean, nobody sees this deception of love, which is really tolerance. And again, it's right out of Aleister Crowley's teachings. Do without will, I'll be the whole of the law under love. That's the same, because love is the deception that they're using to get this pushed across. So it's not a coincidence that you hear all these people in the Democratic Party constantly talk about your kids belonging to everyone, because that's the ultimate ideology that is communism. Everything is sharing. And I covered this recently too, and all those videos are long gone, and I still have the videos, but they're not up here. And I was talking about even these events where there was a repetition and a pattern of like people turning into someone's driveway and getting shot, right? People knocking at the door and getting shot. This was deliberately done. These stories were deliberately out there. Every single story that gets pushed has an agenda behind it. You have to look. And what's the agenda, you might say, behind that? The agenda behind it isn't just about gun ownership. It's about property ownership, that somebody could think that they have the right to shoot somebody if they come to your door. Well, if you feel threatened and someone comes to your door, do they have a right to shoot? Do they have a right to throw somebody off? They're pretty much trying to say that, hey, because you think it's private property, you have the right to do whatever you want. You don't. They're trying to plant the seeds to remove private property, right? These are all things that aren't in communism. The stuff I'm talking about with, obviously the banks are going to be gone. There's going to be one central bank, even though, well, yes, there's the Federal Reserve, but I mean, there's not going to be Bank of America and Wells Fargo and PNC or whatever they're called, all Chase Morgan. It's all going to merge into one. Everything is one religion, okay? The illusion of freedom doesn't need to exist anymore. But the removal of private companies, the removal of private property, the removal of owning property, right? And that's why we see what's going on here. They're trying to convince the youth out there that they're oppressed. The reason that they don't have a home and the guy next door to them does, or the guy up the road does, is because his skin color, right? They're creating a lazy, stupid society, and then they're telling them that they're victims when they're not victims. Then in capitalism, they have the ability to go out there and achieve whatever they want, right? But they're trying to destroy that because they don't want people to achieve it. And obviously the youth out there believes whatever the government tells them because they prop them up. They tell them that they're victims. They tell them it's because of their skin, their sex, their gender, because they're a woman, all these things. And they start buying into it. And then they start victimizing themselves and looking as victims. So they think, well, if I go next door and rob my neighbor, I deserve that. He doesn't deserve this. He only has that because he's a white man. Or he only has that because he's a Catholic. Or he only has that because, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they're convincing everyone. So people are looking at other people's things and property and even children as if they're nothing, as if they belong to everyone. And that's communism. And that's why you see this insane world around us when we see all these news stories that are horrifying about how teenagers are behaving, going into stores and just taking, not even just like shoplifting, going into people's homes and doing this stuff as if, it belongs to them. And they don't blink, they don't cry, they don't show any emotion. This is what they're creating through mind control, through propaganda, and through, of course, the drugging of society and pushing drugs on the streets. These people are pretty much emotionless at this point. But again, targeting the children is the main thing. And you would think that this, and seeing these clips, this would be something that you could use to show people, look, this is the Democratic Party. They're not just saying that they're everyone's kids as as just some type of cliche, like, oh, we have to care about everyone's kids and stuff. They don't care about kids at all. That's why they promote Planned Parenthood. They love it. They love sacrifice. That's what everything's based on. And this isn't your old, the saying goes, the old Democratic Party. Well, Democrats have always been pro, the New World Order party in a sense, but both sides have been. We've heard Bush. There's no such thing as Republican and liberal anymore, or Democrat anymore. But the Democratic Party is fully a communist party. Every single thing that they believe in is a communist ideology, but it's all wrapped around love and caring and being a good person. And when you have a whole group of narcissists who believe in the government above anything else, even when the government's caught doing illegal activity, they still defend it. Well, then you start looking at the insane mindset that people have, and you realize why they have it, because of all the stuff that they've just filtered through the media. And it's crazy if you actually study the left and the right now. Both sides look at each other the same way. The liberals look at conservatives like they're dictators and they want control because, they don't want people to kill their babies, right? Which is insane if you think about it. We're even having a debate about it, right? But they both look at each other the same exact way. But the reality of it is that the Liberal Party is the Communist Party. They're the ones who want to share and take everything that everyone has. And it's going to be an absolute mess. It's going to be chaos. And the government knows that. They're not doing this because they think it'll lead to a better society. It'll lead to more control over all civilians. It'll lead to a lower quality of life. It'll lead to chaos. And they'll be, running amok, doing all the things that they do in private out in the open, because people won't be able to see it out in the open anymore, because they'll all be pushed into a bubble known as a smart city. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to show you that. I hope this is something you could share with people to help them see what's going on. Most of these people are narcissists, so they won't see it. The liberal people, they're like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's not literally what he means. And these are the same people that suddenly are okay with castrating kids. So they're absolutely insane and psychotic if they support that type of stuff. But there's a good chance this video gets a strike. So please, 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 if you're still listening, make sure you subscribe to my other channel, link below. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families.